Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the 2023 fall season and the third show, which of course is sure to be an exciting episode on issues and answers with yours truly, Honorable Valencia Stovall. Today is Monday, October the 16th, and you're listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. You can click us on, click the live stream tab or watch us live on Smart TV, YouTube, Twitter, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. You can subscribe free to our YouTube channel, WCEG Network. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, which is now X, Instagram, or connect with us on LinkedIn. We do have some new platforms. You can download our free WCEG mobile app, go to the App Store, or go to Google Play Store. We're on Roku, streaming, Alexa, and you just say play WCEG Talk Radio. We have 12 podcast distribution platforms. Now, the topics and opinions that you will hear today are those of the show hosts and guests, and not of WCEG Network. And we thank you, of course, for your continued support. And I hope you are enjoying this cool October weather. We're glad you are tuning in with us. Of course, we have to take a moment of silence for all who are survivors of breast cancer and those who have succumbed, because this is Breast Cancer Month of October. We continue to keep, of course, my dear friend, Chief Adeyemo, uplifted in prayers. And also, we're keeping those families in the Middle East in our prayers as well. And of course, our last episode, we got a chance to hear from Arthur Norman Carter Jr., who's a candidate for Snellville City Council. And of course, you all know my hat's off to anyone who decides to get into politics. Is definitely a cutthroat and not for the faint of heart, as many of you all are actually seeing that. We're trying to elect for the Congress, trying to elect the House Speaker. And it seems like it's something simple, but of course, it's never anything simple when it comes to politics. And so today's show is titled Sane versus Insane. Do you wonder sometimes when you hear of unbelievable actions by people if they are sane or are they insane? I was reading a couple of articles where one lady in particular in Alabama faked her abduction. She said she pulled over to the side of the road to help a 3 to 4 year old child who was walking in his or her Pampers. Of course, that never happened. Later on, it was found that she admitted that it was all a hoax, that she made it up. So would you say that's sane or insane? Well, how about this? Another article I was reading about a female correctional officer who goes to on her way to serve a warrant to another female. They get into an altercation. They end up spitting on each other, and the police were called. Yeah, I was wondering. I thought the sheriff's office is there. Why would you call the police? But hey, and it end up that both women and some other fellow officers are all arrested. Now, would you say that's sane or insane? Well, of course, I confess I'm not a doctor, but I do have a lot of common sense. But even with that experience, it's hard to wrap my head around the things that are happening, the stories that we're hearing today. Like our elders would say, there's something in the water that's just not right. It's something in our water that's causing all these things. And when you think about Proverbs 9:10, it says, fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. The knowledge of the Holy One results in good judgment. Well, my guest today is Bishop Dr. Tonya Sumner Brrown. And she has a lot of accolades behind her name. I'm going to say psychologist, dear Dr. Psychologist, Master in Divinity, LPC, LPT, CT, CPSC, CPCS, CNP, OES, CDC, and that's not the Center for Disease Control, y'all. Okay, yeah, DVISII on the second, CAMS diplomat, CEO and president of Operation Street Harvest, a loving counseling center, driven to achievers also Georgia Black Licensed Associate of Counselors, and I must add on that, an author. Well, and so I welcome Dr. Sumner Brrown for the second time to Issues and Answers on WCEG. Also, welcome Dr. Sumner Brrown, Bishop Dr. Sumner Brrown.
Thank you so much, Honorable Stovall. Now, you know you're one of my girls, and
Yes.
that's because you work so hard out here in the community. I want to faint for you. You know, you do such marvelous things for people, and a lot of times we're out here working our tails off, and we're wondering, like, who's seeing this? And that's not what we're doing it for, but just being able to be out there and do what we do. You know, our companies are 30 years old, and we've been just doing all kinds of stuff out here in the community, like you. And I just want to say I admire you, and thank you for having me on your show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we, for those who don't know, we met back, I think it was in 2017. She also had her close buddy friend, Dr. Tonya, who both of them came out to our back to school block party, Clayton County back to school block party. I think it was our first event that we had. And they donated so many books for the families that we had books left over, even after all the participants left and took books. And so we later donated those to our early learning centers in the county. And of course, we stayed connected, over the years. She had a show. What was that?
Actually, I had 4. We had Driven to Achieve Achievers, where we had people like you that's just doing dynamite things in the community. We had Aaliyah's Teen Talk, Hot Topics for Teens. We had Kids Cuting Up. And then I had my other show, Hidden Secrets, which is like a Dr. Phil show, where people come on and we talk about mental health issues.
Wow. But I was on the Driven to Achieve.
Driven to Achieve. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really appreciate you allowing me to be able to come on, and then vice versa, you coming on to talk about the real and practical issues around mental health. And that's why I wanted you to welcome you to be a guest today to kind of talk about it. We hear a lot, and of course, a lot of bad stigma about mental health and people getting treatment and seeking help today. So one of the questions I want to start off with is tell us what you do on the professional, religious, because we saw a bishop in that name, and humanitarian side.
So, Operation Street Harvest is our primary company. It is 30 years old. We have had a multi-million-dollar food bank in Atlanta for 10 years. We've had 3 thrift stores. We've had 2, we had 3 homeless shelters. And we always are running counseling centers because mental health is the key. Every single, I tell people when I get up in the morning, I'm African-American. And everything I do is affected by the colored lenses that I wear, right? So we started Georgia Black Licensed Association of Counselors. One of the things that we have to do in our community is we have to educate, because our partners have been going from the sofas to the easy chairs for years. We say, they're just crazy. No, I struggle with people being called crazy because mental health is real. It's like a broken arm or a broken leg. It's real. And many mental health issues can be cured. So right now we have one of the hot topics right now is having people. Okay, so we have to talk about what is a Pornhub. We have to talk about that because so many kids are addicted to Pornhub that the 7, 8, and 9-year-olds are having sex with 3 and 4 and 5-year-old brothers, and sisters. The older kids are literally raping the younger kids. The parents are terrified. I see a lot of parents that's just terrified, single moms. They don't know how to deal with the 13 and 14 and 15-year-old sons that's molesting the kids. We've called Child Protective Services to no avail. I'm still waiting on them to come for some cases. So this thing is real. And Pornhub and things like that are so easily accessible to our youth. They're watching it in school. They're watching it at home. They're sitting around having sex. I'm talking about little kids. Sex parties. I've had so many 5-year-olds coming to counseling this year that's addicted to sex or being assaulted by an older sibling, or older siblings being assaulted by people on the outside, or, family, blood, friends. So one thing I want to tell you mothers, we know the fathers are usually looking out for the daughters, but I want to tell you mothers, if you have single children, it used to be girls we worried about. Worry about your boys too, because these children are being sexually assaulted, and they're being and they don't know what to do with that. Some of these kids coming into counseling can't even tell you what has happened to them. They're like, he made me do this. It's really hard. So when you're leaving your kids to go to work, think about what I'm saying. When you're leaving your kids to go to wherever you're going, think about who it is that you're leaving your children with. So that's the number one issue in mental health. Let's go talk about the situation that you mentioned. The lady who said that she picked somebody, the little baby up on the side of the road. Yes, there are real issues out here. There are people out here with undiagnosed schizophrenia, undiagnosed bipolar, undiagnosed ADHD. So the best thing we can do is go get help. The best thing you can do for yourself, I always say, is go and get help. Help yourself. If you think that you have something going on, just go and check. My dream would be to have mental health checkup with a big check on it, buildings like McDonald's, just where you just run in, get a checkup, and come back out. Because all of us have something going on in our lives that, the stigma of going to counseling, our young people are getting it. They are starting to get it. They're starting to see about themselves. I do a lot of marriage work, haven't been married 28 years. So I like to talk to people about marriage, and we want to have a huge conference in February around Valentine's Day on marriage. And I want it to be called Marriage, Just Do It, Renew It, Refresh It. I hear, oh, we haven't had sex in 20 years, or we're just in the same house. We don't talk to each other. There's so much going on in that. And then for third time, Honorable Stovall, let me jump in this and say, the other thing is, watch what you're doing in front of your children. All this fussing and fighting, and you're giving your children depression. You're giving your children PTSD. You're giving them anxiety. So when they're growing up and they're having all this emotional stuff going on, you may be the reason. Because when they're watching you fuss and fight like cats and dogs in front of them, they are innocent victims. They cannot do anything about their situation. A lot of kids are running hide, or, you tell them to go in their room like their ears don't work. So we really are going to have to watch. And I think, I say we all have PTSD as African-American people. I firmly believe that. And so we have to watch what we're doing to our children with all this fussing and fighting. So yeah, those are my 3 main topics that I need to get out there. And that is Pornhub. Watch your children. Please watch your children. I don't care who you trust. Double check behind. Don't just blindly trust people with your children, because there's too many kids coming in, 5 that have sex issues. Double check what you have going on with you. I travel a lot. Honorable Stovall, I'm gone. I'll be in another country in a minute. So that's how I work with my personal stuff, stress. I have to go. I'm like, baby, it's time to go. Where are we going? Okay, we're gonna go here or there. Take care of yourself. We as women, and I want the men to hear me too, though, because society has put so much on their shoulders that they are expected to live up to. Take a break. It's okay. Take a break. Do your self-care. So what do you do, Honorable Stovall, for self-care?
Well, I like to read. I like to travel. And sometimes I just sit at home and catch up on movies that I have not gotten a chance, to do. So, as a former elected official, which in such a high demand type of job, for 8 years, I did not do as good a job as I should have as for self-care, because as a public servant, you're always thinking about, others. And so when I left office in 2020, well, my term ended in end of 2020, I got a chance to see, oh, I'm missing out on a whole lot of stuff that I wanted to do for myself. And then I realized too that if I didn't go to that one meeting, what's the worst that was going to happen? You know, that people are still going to do whatever they're going to do, whether you are present or you're not.
That's right.
And I used to see sometimes even those that were kind of seasoned legislators, didn't see them, you know, going to every meeting, trying to get there. And I just wondered, I said, oh, they found the secret is you got to take care of yourself and make sure that you're able to be able to help others, because if you don't take care of yourself, then you won't be any good to being able to help others. So, you know, I've learned that a whole lot more better after leaving, you know, getting out of office, with being able, and the demand is not as high, of course, of having to go to meetings, even though I still go. But I definitely concur with you about, you know, taking care of yourself. And that was one of the questions that you end up answering. You know, what do you do with being in such a high demand? And now when you, like you were saying, hearing such stories that 10, 15, 20 years ago, they may have been happening, but they're not as prominent now, you know, with the access of the internet and the kids having something, and parents working and not watching what's going on. And they, like you said, trusting. I was at a school today and we were talking about some tablet devices that we were working with. And one of the boys said, well, can I go to End Site? I was like, you know, I'm not thinking. I said, yeah, you could go to End Site. And he was getting ready to put it in Pornhub. I said, hey, what you doing with the device? This is
See?
you know? I said, oh,
Yeah.
I'm about to report you. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, no. You. I said, what do you know about that? What do you know about that? So when you mentioned that, that just kind of automatically made me think, you know, that's
I
what
have
they're
5
doing, if they don't have it monitoring.
And I have 5-year-olds talking about they want sex changes. And somebody
Oh,
said to me, a DeSantis supporter said that that's why he wanted that law in Florida, because they were having 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds coming out wanting sex changes and stuff. I can say that might not be a lie, because I've had some, and you're like, what do you know about a sex change at 5 years old?
Right.
You know, but then if their older siblings are showing them Pornhub with everything going on, then, you know, and like I said, the sad part is a lot of these children coming in don't even understand the language. They don't know, you know, the personal questions to even ask. And that's so sad that this is running our children. And I don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you. I don't. Now I wanted to go and respond to your saying the sheriff, deputy sheriff, or whoever she was, it's been on the woman. So at the end of the day, we revert back to who we are as people. So I don't think a title, and this is, I mean, I see this all the time, and I manage interns through our internship program at A-Love Counseling. At the end of the day, I see people just reverting back to who they are. So a title, you know, none of that stuff really matters at the end of the day. So you have to, like, this the constant work on yourself. I was with one of my interns today, and she was telling me about one of her clients, and I said, you know, I need less of you and more of that client. I need you to talk 10%, and I want to read 90% of what your client did. Because when you get new interns coming in, they start talking about themselves in the session. This is not your session. This is your client's session. So that's because they're being who they are. And I don't want that in your session. This is not about you. So, you know, I've worked with some police stuff, and yeah, a lot of times what you're getting may not be the truth on the news. So you have to just always take that with a grain of salt. When the people, what are we being told? Let's put it like that. What are we being told? What are we being expected to believe? Because who are you going to ask?
Right. Yeah, you know, anything what you're hearing on the news, you have to decipher out, you know, because there's always something behind the scenes that you're never told. And that's one thing I learned as being an elected official. You know, there's certain information that we were privy to, and then that some of that information we were not allowed, or we were encouraged not to share it to the public, because sometimes the public will overreact until you kind of find out everything that's going on. So definitely, you know, I just, you know, when you think about the different people in different positions, and sometimes we hold them in high regard as far as, you know, expectations. But like you said, and you made very, very clear, and that's why you're the doctor, when you said people revert back to who they are originally, you know. And the other question is, a lot of times we hear the word psychiatrist and we hear the word psychologist. What is the difference between the two?
That I get asked that question all the time. A psychiatrist does medication, right? Okay. A psychologist does not. We do talk therapy. We do like just getting people to be able to connect with who they are, why they are who they are, where they want to go, and how we can help them get there. So here's our process, so that everybody will understand what happens if you have never been to counseling. So you call up, we assign you a therapist. Once you get the therapist, they're going to call you. They're going to send you what's called a new client package. And the new client package, that's just going to be your basic information, name, address, phone number, insurance, blah, blah, blah. Then they're going to do an assessment of, well, they're going to do a biopsychosocial, which is going to dig a little bit into your background. And my things like, so family of origin, significant others. Family of origin is your family blood. Significant others is your children, your dogs, your cats, your husbands, and all that stuff. Then your medical, your education, all that, right? Have you had any trauma in your life? We need to know that so we can work with that and dig that out and work and get rid of it. So that's your new client package. Then we're going to do initial assessment based on all the information you put in your biopsychosocial, which is like your biological history. Then we're going to take your biopsychosocial, and then we're going to make a treatment plan. We're going to do an assessment of what we need to do. Then we make a treatment plan that talks about your goals, your objectives. What goals would you like? And based on our clinical experience, the goals we want to give you based on a diagnosis that we'll make. And our diagnosis don't end up being schizophrenia, bipolar, PTSD, ADHD, anxiety. It could be all kinds of stuff, right? So we had a pyromania. One of my interns has a pyromania. So we diagnosed them with that. And then we set up a treatment plan to treat whatever
What is pyromania?
That he went setting fires to things.
Okay.
And then we have enuresis. That's a child or somebody who wets the bed. Encopresis, somebody who poops. So it's all kinds of stuff we cover. And then we do your treatment plan. So we set up your goals, objectives, and interventions. So for instance, let's take depression, right? Okay, so you just got diagnosed with depression. So now we're going to set up some goals for that. How to get you motivated, how to get you out the house, how to get you, and then objectives are, what do we need to do to break it down a little further? And then interventions, what do I need you to do now based on this particular goal, these objectives that we've set together, and your interventions. And so a depressed person may never want to get out the bed, and that's the reality. So how do we get you involved? So one, get you to come to therapy as opposed to doing this, right? Doing a Zoom, get you out the bed and get you there. Then once we get you there, now what can we do? So you're depressed, you really don't mind. And I told my intern today, so a lot of times they'll call me and they'll say, well, Dr. Brrown, so-and-so won't do this or that. I can't get them to follow the treatment plan. And I'm like, what's the diagnosis? It's depression. Oh, okay. So you expect the depressed person. And then we also make referrals to the psychiatrist because I need a medication evaluation. One of the things I want to say to us is we have often been told we need some medication, but we have a big stigma against that, right? So we don't want to go to the psychiatrist and get any kind of medication. Now, let's talk about this. So you have an ADHD child in school, cutting up, tearing up classroom, cussing out the teacher, beating up kids, right? He can't manage ADHD on his own. He can't. And so for you to deny that child the right to treatment, because that's literally what you're doing. And I'm not a person who shoves medication down your throat, but I am a person who says this child might need to have an evaluation and have some help with that, right? And so a lot of parents say, I don't want my child on medication. I don't want this. Okay, so you want your child to keep tearing up the classroom and cussing out the teacher. No, get that evaluation. The other thing I have to say to us frequently is this: the doctor is going to give you what should work, right? But now, do they know the direct amount of medicine that they should give you? Not really. It's kind of hit or miss. But I promise you, when you get the right amount and the right medication, I have people say, Dr. Brrown, I'm gonna leave home without it. So we need to throw away all the stigma to medication. And at least if we are dealing with something that we cannot, some things you can self-manage. You know, I'm an adult, I'm ADHD. And back when I was young, they didn't have diagnosis for that. But in the classroom, my hand was up all the time. I know. And there's like, Tonya, can somebody else answer the question? No, I know the answer. Why would you call on me? And so I didn't know what it was, let alone, self-diagnosis. But in college, I self-diagnosed myself, watching some of my ADHD teachers. I self-diagnosed myself. And then I can self-manage as an adult. But as a child, I couldn't self-manage that. I was doing everything, fighting all the time. It was bad, I had to grow out of that stuff. And now I can self-manage. So I might say, did I leave my phone in the house? Because, ADHD is forgetfulness.
Yes.
It is not being able to I'm also OCD. So if I can't clean it and make it perfect, I'm not going to do it. I have to wait until I can make it perfect. And we have to look at ourselves and say, maybe there's a reason I'm doing this. And, so find out who you are, why you do the things you do, and don't beat yourself up over it. It is what it is.
Right. So we have a question to come in, and, a lot of times on jobs when you're applying, the employers, of course, want to do a background check. And so the question was, does those kind of diagnoses come up on the background check?
No. This is what I want us to understand, because people always tell their children, this is going to follow you. If you're let's say schizophrenic, okay, seeing voices, and so now you have audible and visual hallucinations. Okay, that's real. If you get on good medicine, you can not deal with those symptoms, right? But when you go to a therapist, that is strictly your session. We are strictly confidential. I'm not telling. Now, I do EAP. So in your employee assistance program, and what that is if you're on a job and they say, and you say, well, I need some counseling. And they say, well, we're going to use your EAP before you use Humana or Aetna or whoever, then they'll send me a paper. But because of your right to confidentiality, I may send them a letter saying that they are being treated. I'm not going to tell them for what. That's not their business. You have a right to your confidentiality, and we protect that with everything in us. Now, if you go, it's going to be different. A lot of times I run EAP with short-term disability. So if you're doing employee assistance program, you need money, then I'll run your short-term disability. Now they're going to ask me questions, but they cannot take that back to your job. They can't.
Okay. So
don't be afraid of that at all.
Wow, that's a lot of good information, because like I said, you're frightful, of a lot, and I'm glad you brought up about the ADHD. And especially the children, because a lot of times they may be labeled as bad behavior, and sometimes it's just like you said, it's some things they have not learned how to control and manage. And what happens is, from the experience of working and volunteering in the school, and had a son that was diagnosed with ADHD, and then they end up getting whoopings or punished for things that they just cannot. And so until they learn how to manage it, and you teaching them techniques that they can be able to use, and then I will always communicate with my child's teacher every beginning of the school year, or anytime he had to change teacher, classroom teachers, especially when he got to high school, I'll go up there immediately. Listen, my son, this, that, and that, when he gets to this point and he gets angry, you got to let him cool off. And then he knows we've been teaching him techniques, and he knows how to regroup himself. but don't go ask him no extra questions while he's trying to cool off, because that's gonna, you know, escalate the problem.
Mm-hmm,
And then you're gonna have to call me to come up here, because you might be able to tow up the whole classroom, you know. So those type of things, like you said, I'm glad that you mentioned that, you know, for those tips for parents. When you see behavior that's usually not normal, even if you're not sure, you know, it's best to go and seek help. And you have, you know, the schools are there to be able to help in that part. They have school counselors. That's what the counselors are there. Sometimes they're overwhelmed. So that was one of the reasons, you know, bringing on you, Dr. Brrown, so that those who are out there or know others out there that may be looking for a psychologist or someone in that profession to be able to help them navigate through, you know, everything that's going on with children, especially when they get to the adolescent stage. You know, that's a whole nother situation that goes
and
on.
it is. And with what's going on in the schools today, but so let me just throw this in there real quick though. When you have an ADHD child, I used to go to the schools and teach the teachers, right? When I first started this work, but I don't have time for that now. So what you need to do is get your plan together. The school has a responsibility to teach your child under the conditions that they can learn. So if your child is ADHD, they will put you demand, first of all, because I hear parents saying, I don't know what to do. No, yes, we do. Demand a meeting with the principal, with the teachers, with the social worker, with the psychologist, school psychologist, because that's what you have to do. And then you have to stay on it, unfortunately, because like you said, the teachers get overwhelmed. You know, you can set up a plan where my child takes a test by themselves in a room, or my child is getting unruly. They sit outside the door for 10 minutes, you know, all kinds of stuff. I used to tell teachers, for your ADHD kids, keep them busy. If you need something written on the board, give them the chalk, let them do it. Keep them busy. ADHD kids, I'm going to say this with all my speaking from experience. ADHD kids are not stupid. They are super intelligent. I promise you. I'm a genius, and I'm not saying that to brag. So I was so like, I got this, and you know, I was just everywhere, and I didn't know what to do with that, and I couldn't self-manage. And so a lot of it came out in fighting and just all kinds of stuff. But your ADHD kid is brilliant. That's what I really want you to know. The problem is, especially with our kids, they don't learn sitting there watching you run your mouth. They don't. They need to be active. They need to be having hands moving, brain thinking, doing things that are constructive besides just sitting there, right? Our kids don't function well with that. So it's not that your child is even a bad child. It's just that we're not feeding our children enough of what they need. So now, especially in our boys, they're going to get up and walk around the classroom. They're going to get up and walk out the door. They're going to get up, or they're going to start a fight, or they're going to say something, you know, inappropriate. So really, I blame some of this on the teachers and the way we're taught to teach, right? Because it's not how our children learn. And so you have to keep them busy doing things with their hands, with their brain, because otherwise your ADHD kid, even in my office, I tell my interns, when they first get an ADHD child, Dr. Brrown, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to keep, because they're going to sit in the swivel chair. They're going to swivel the chair around. They're going to run and jump up and down on the couch. You know, that's our kids. So we have to, so now they have lots of games. We do play therapy. I tell them, if your child is a beat maker, tell him to bring his stuff and watch him make beats. And while he's making his beats, talk to him, right? Because sometimes he's not talking. How are you engaging this child? If this child is wanting to go do, one of my children, he made video games, for real. He really did. And I would sit there with him and watch his video games, because I got more out of him watching his video games than I got with him just sitting in a chair. So we have to engage them in a manner in which that is useful for them. But trust me, ADHD kids get a bad rap. I don't know any stupid ADHD kid. I promise you, our ADHD kids are just too smart. They're very smart, and we're not keeping up.
Yeah.
What about your son? You mentioned that. What about your son? Is he brilliant? He's a smart kid?
Yes. I mean, you know, when it comes down to music, and so that's what I use. He started playing the drums by ear at age of 4. So as he got into middle school, he ended up playing in the high school marching band. And so what I had to use was I would go talk to the band teacher at the middle school, and I said, listen, he loved to play the drums. So what I'm gonna do is to help him to be able to monitor himself. If he getting into trouble, I'm gonna have the teacher to contact you, because he'll listen to you. He won't listen to nobody else. He'll listen to you because you got something that he wants, which he want to play in the band. Right. And so I would do that when he got to high school. I said, listen, if you have any problems, I would love it. I said, you just go talk to the band teacher. And they said, okay. So the band teacher knew, okay, I know how to handle love it. And then I would tell the teacher, I said, now, if he's sitting in your classroom, I said, don't give him two or anything. If you give him two pencils, he gonna tap. I said, and he's not even gonna realize that he interrupted the class. I said, so you just give him one. He's not gonna tap with one because he got to have two things in his hand. And so those little, type of things, like that is what I use to keep him out of trouble. And I thank God he never had to go to juvenile, never had any record, any criminal record or anything like that. But that's what I tell parents: find something they're good at doing, and that's what you use to help them to be able to manage, that, because they're gonna always revert back to that, because that's something that he's very good in. He might not be as strong academically as his cousin or anybody else, but when it comes down to playing those drums, he's the master. Can't nobody beat him, with that. And so I use that to praise him. Oh no, that sounds good. Even though my ears, I'd be like, oh God, but that's what kept him busy. And he, of course, stayed in church. He played drums, for the church even now as an adult. So we appreciate it. Now, I know you mentioned we get ready to close out this segment, but I know you mentioned about your upcoming event. Could you, for those who may have just tuned in, could you tell us a little bit more about that February event or anything else that you have coming up, and how can they contact you if they want to come and talk with Dr. Brrown?
So it's we have 4 companies. The parent company is Operation Street Harvest, but the main counseling center is A Love Counseling Center, and the number is 404-316-0226. We are located in the Trinity Office Park, 4153 Flat Shoals Parkway, Building C, Suite 324H, and that's in Decatur 30034. I haven't gotten a date yet for our marriage conference, but one of the things that I know is we need a whole lot of work in that area. And so I want to go back, because as a young girl, nobody told me anything about how to be married or what I needed to be looking for. I just didn't get it. And so we're going to have a big section on premarital counseling, and at the end of all of that will be an actual marriage ceremony for the people that want to get married, renew marriages and all that. So I want to have it around 4th of July. It might have to get pushed back a little bit, but it's just something that's so needed. It's so needed.
Now you mean February 14th? You said 4th.
Well, I'm hoping somewhere around it. We don't have a date yet, but yeah, the main thing people come to counseling with is communication. We have communication. Yep, you do, because male and female, Mars and Venus, we do have a communication.
So that number is 44316-0216.
44316-0226.
Oh, 0226. Okay.
Yeah, and call us. We keep your business confidential. We've got several therapists. And we do, if you look at us, we are 5-star. We have, we're A+ on the Better Business Bureau. Our company's 30 years old, and we're there for you. We're waiting on you. There's a lot of suicidal stuff out here. And that's because you feel like you don't have any options, but you do have options. It's just that you get in your head. You need to talk to somebody about that. So we're seeing, suicidal stuff really bad too. So.
Yes. I had some young people on the show about two shows ago. I was talking to the young people, and one of the things we talked about was teen suicide, which is very, very high when it comes down to death among teens, was teen suicide. So we definitely, for those who are listening and watching, I put Dr. Brrown's information into our comment section to make sure, and that's A Love Counseling Center, 44316-0226. make sure you reach out to her. And even if you think something might not be wrong, just reach out anyway. You may be surprised, and being able to get those techniques and things that you can be able to use at home, and even being able to share it with your child's teacher. Because when that classroom is disrupted, y'all know I did some substitute teaching, and I can tell you, even though they might have said some of the kids nothing was wrong with them, I kind of like, yeah, that one, just based on their particular behavior. And because I had a son with ADHD, I kind of knew, what kind of techniques to be able to help them. But, when they go to another classroom or they go home and parents are complaining, like you have some of the parents say, I don't know what to do with that child. They're going to have to get out. Okay, if the child get out, where are they going?
Where they going?
Yeah, where they going?
Which I want to throw. I'm sorry, I know you're leaving, but let me just say one more thing. With the LGBTQ community, 50% of these kids out here have been tossed out. God is love, parents. God is love. And so we're seeing them out here being raped, homeless, all kinds of stuff. That's something we are definitely going to have to work on, because the Bible says no sin is greater than the other sin. Yes, I do marry my religion with my clinical. I definitely do. And when we have all these kids thrown out by parents, you should love your child. I love my child regardless. I told myself, if you kill somebody, I'll be furious, but I would still have to love you, right? I would still love you. We can't just say, oh, because you're not doing everything I want you to do. I can see if they're fighting, fighting you, if they're posing a threat to you, that's one thing. But 50% of these kids out here that are homeless it's because of the LGBTQ plus. And them trying to find out who they are. And there's so many different names now. And so we have to stay on top of what's happening. I tell my husband, I'm not living in a bubble, so I'm constantly on the TV, on the news, on everything, because I have to, in my profession, have some idea what's going on. We have to do better with our LGBTQ community and our LGBTQ kids. Parents, please quit throwing your kids out. Take them to get some help.
Yes. What you heard it straight from the doctor's lip. Take them to go get some help. And so we have been talking with Bishop Dr. Tonya Sumner Brrown with A-Love Counseling Center. And we really appreciate you, Dr. Brrown. You can still hang on here with us. We're going to go into another part of our show. And everybody know what time it is. It's time for the Say What segment. So every day there are situations happening all around us that make us want to say, what in the what? So just like we talked about the show with Sane versus insanity. So how about this, y'all? There were former Americans who have renounced their citizenship, have actually launched a class action suit against the U.S. government over what they argue are exorbitant and unconstitutional costs of them being able to relinquish their passports. So these are people who have become American citizens that no longer want to be American citizens. They want to go back to their particular country. And they are now being charged a high renunciation fee of $2,350, where previously they only had to pay $450. So they have filed a class action suit. So, in America, we have the right, you can sue anybody. It don't mean that it's a good suit or not. That's what the court and the jurors to decide, but you can file that in America. And so the lawsuit says it's arbitrary, capricious, and illegal because, among other things, it was used to fund governmental functions completely unrelated to the services. So they're saying the government is using those extra dollars, well, a whole lot of extra dollars, to fund some other programs and not going back into this particular program that is already set up, and that is a violation of the federal law. So the State Department, after hearing all those complaints, intends to reduce the burden to $450 once again, but has not yet done it. So when you think about it, more than 30,000 people who are over the past decade, 10 years, have paid this $2,350 to say, I don't want to be in America anymore. And that's what you can say, what in the what? Would y'all ever think that was, that was my first time hearing about it. And that was according to Human Times Online magazine. So how about another say what? A recent shooting in August of a man sitting in his car by a Philadelphia officer prompted a riot of protest of what the news media said, opportunists, when a judge dismissed the charges. So the police officer was supposed to be charged for this particular shooting. The judge dismissed it. So you got a lot of people that are upset, understandably, but you got some people taking advantage of a situation. So more than 60 people were charged after 2 nights of stealing shoes, alcohol, iPhones, and other things. Now, what did that have to do with that man being shot? I don't know. So they said looting was in some cases live streaming. Now, can you believe criminals, these some dumb criminals, because they live streaming them breaking into these particular businesses. Don't you know you're gonna for real get caught? Because now they actually have digital evidence, not just the cameras that were in the store, but now they got it when you was well now, and they showed this one picture. I forgot what the young lady's name was. She was on there dancing and said, yeah, see what they doing? And then she was selling a shirt with her picture on it where she had been committing the crime. So that's a say what to the what? Yes. So how about I have another one, y'all? I know. The Georgia High School Association voted to allow athletes to accept what's called NIL, which are name, image, and likeness, and they can be able to accept this money. So Georgia is the 30th state to approve this. The money goes into a Guardian bank account, and some restrictions are those athletes cannot wear their school paraphernalia when they are, so just think of this, you have like those big companies like Nike, some other places where they, you see professionally, where you see the professional athletes doing commercials on TV and promoting that particular product or service. Well, now high school athletes will be able to do the same thing and receive money compensation for them being able to do that. But they cannot wear their school paraphernalia. The school staff cannot be involved. Colleges cannot use the money to recruit them. Some are concerned that businesses could purchase homes for students or influence students to attend certain high schools and colleges. So now you think about it, you have this particular high school team that's winning championship, and your child in the school that haven't been winning too many championships. So you now want to move them to the school that's winning championships for a greater opportunity for college scholarships, or even going straight to professional athletics. Where they're saying is that a concern is that these particular companies can end up purchasing homes, moving those families into those homes in the school district where they'd be able to now go to school. And so then you have the other schools who have not been as popular, concerned like, you're going to take all our best athletes. And not only that, this is one I know Dr. Brrown is going to have to be on the watch out for, is what kind of pressure would that be on athletes to perform? So, they're going to end up having self-pressure that, hey, your parents say, hey, we getting all this money. You got to keep on. You got to go to practice. The child might be sick or whatever. You need to get on up to go. We need this. And then the pressure that the child may impose on him or herself as wanting to be a better athlete. Where would that enhancement drugs come in? All those things that people end up doing just to be able to be the best athlete. Because of course the companies are not going to pick an athlete that's not doing well. So we have to kind of think about that. But that's one of those say what now they can get money paid like the professionals. Woo-wee. They're gonna be, some of these athletes gonna be making more money than they high school coaches.
Yeah,
so well, go ahead, Dr. Brrown.
I don't know if I get to respond in this segment, but
yes.
I've always been a fan of the players being able to be paid of what they're worth, right? I never thought about it from what the perspective that you just said, in terms of all the parents are going to move their children in the neighborhoods with the schools that are getting all the money. So that's that. You're right. From a clinical perspective, especially our boys, they don't mature to 30, 28. So they're going to be struggling with all of this. And then I see what you're saying in terms of the parents being able to stress make them do stuff they don't want to do. I do basically, I think it's a good thing to pay them, but I also see suicidality going up because of that pressure. And especially if there's no oversight. So what I think I heard you say is that the school coaches and people cannot be involved in any of that. So who's going to do the oversight on the drugs and, the hanging out at the parties and all of that? That is going to be or should be a grave concern to people. I do think that they should get paid, but I think it should be regulated. I don't think that it should just be willy-nilly. Yeah. I don't. I do think the best athletes should be, should receive some money. I just have never thought it was fair because they make probably, I don't know this for a fact, but probably millions of dollars for their schools when they have school games. The schools are the only ones making money. Right. And off of these kids. And like I've heard it said before, so when they break a leg or an arm and it prevents them from going into, the other professional ball, then,
Right. And like one of the comments came in to say it's better than under the table deals, which I agree with.
That's right.
That's right. So we'll be looking to see, as time goes on, more legislation regulating, how this is going to be done and all of that. And I'm glad that there has to be a guardian, bank account, set up, and there's going to probably be some regulations, around that as well. They definitely going to have taxes off that money that they receive, and so, like I said, all of those things that comes along with it. But we're now ending almost out of here, y'all. So I'm gonna end up with my announcements. Every show we will encourage you to support Georgia House Bill 89, which creates a reparations commission to recommend appropriate policy remedies for descendants of chattel slavery here in Georgia. You can get involved by visiting Reparations Sunday.info. So we want to thank Tamara Shealy for leading those particular efforts about the Reparations Commission here in Georgia. Make sure you're checking your status for Medicaid coverage. Many people were dropped from Medicaid. So go to staycovered.ga.gov or gateway.ga.gov before May the 24th. Now, do you know a single parent in Georgia, male or female, who is doing an outstanding job of raising his or her children? Nominations are now open. You all know this was my second piece of legislation I authored, designate March the 21st as Single Parent Day in the state of Georgia. And so we have nominations that are open. So any single parent who lives in the state of Georgia can be nominated. And yes, you can self-nominate yourself. We'll be doing nominations from October to December for the 2024 Georgia Single Parent Legacy Builders Recognition and Awards event. You all know we meet up at the state capitol on March the 21st, and you'll recognize that at the state capitol. And then that Saturday, we actually host a banquet where we recognize you formally with a certificate and pictures and all of that. And you're able to invite your family to come and join you. So go to nationallg.org, nationallg.org, and put in your nominations today. Don't wait till December. You know that parent, go ahead and nominate them. And also the Georgia Single Parent Coalition is now accepting membership to join our cause. It's $25 for a year. And yes, we have a payment plan. And it's open not only to single parents, but to anyone who supports single parents. And with this, just like we have Dr. Brrown that's on here, we do not provide the services. We provide links and connectivity to link you to those people, individuals, and organizations that's their specialty. So we serve as a conduit to make sure you get to who you need to get to. And with this, we'll be hosting training classes, counseling, parenting classes, other resources, family fun activities. So if you want more information, go to nationallg.org to get information. So ML King Jr. Advisory Council, which is I'm a part of, a vice chair of that particular council. It was established by the Georgia legislature to recognize the works of Dr. King's teaching and all the achievement that happened during the civil rights. So right now we have nominations are being accepted for the 2024 annual tribute. This actual annual tribute takes place at the Georgia State Capitol. It will be on Friday, January the 12th, 2024. And it's a big event, you all, and it's free for anybody to come down to the Capitol on that day. Well, the deadline for the nominations are Friday, November the 3rd. So you only have less than a month left to nominate. And there are 4 categories that you can be able to choose someone to be nominated in. If you're interested, just reach out to me because it's this long job form number that I know you're going to get it mixed up. So if you send me an email at contact@gostovall.com, contact@gostovall.com, I will forward you the link. But I'm going to post it on my Facebook page and all my other social media platform as well. Well, you all know time has almost caught us. All good things must come to an end. This, of course, is not our season finale show, so we're going to be back when? November the 6th. And you all know November the 6th is the day before the election. So some of you all might not know it, but there are local elections taking place for mayor, city council, some school board. Depends on where you live. So make sure you go to my Georgia page, my voter page, through the Georgia Secretary of State's office. It's mvp.sos.ga.gov. And you can find out your status and make sure you are registered to vote, because there were some names taken off for those people who don't vote on a regular basis. And so you want to make sure that's mvp.sos.ga.gov. And so make sure you go so you can see which elections that you need to go vote for. And make sure you go to the right precinct. You cannot go to the wrong precinct and think your vote is going to count, because it's not. Now, only you can go, they have early voting locations that are taking place. You need to go on their website to find out where you go. I can't tell you that because this is for the whole state of Georgia. So make sure you do that and make sure you make your vote count. You know, the goal of Issues and Answers with yours truly, Honorable Stovall, is to educate you on things, those things you might not think about unless you are in a situation to be concerned. So like today with Sane versus insanity, or versus insane, sanity versus insanity, or sane versus insane, that's something that you have to be concerned about. So we thank Dr. Sumner Brrown again for joining us on our show today. And I know definitely we'll have to have her back again, talking about an upcoming event, and maybe just having a segment where, you know, you're just talking about dealing with just parents and those issues, you know, giving those additional tips about what they can do, and then looking for what kind of signs do parents need to be looking for. A lot of times parents don't want to be nosy and look at their children's room and in their dresser drawers or whatever, but I believe if I'm paying the bills, I got a right to go in there. If you want some privacy, get your own space. So, so since you don't have your own space, that's my space, and I'm gonna go in there to see what's going on.
Right.
And so we thank you all for joining us. Remember, if you have some show ideas or something that you want me to talk about, or something to put in the say what to the what, make sure you contact me at contact@gostovall.com. Thank you all and have a good rest of your week. And we will see you back again on November the 6th at 4 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome.